Hello, everybody. Welcome to the webinar about international business made up by UNAM Chicago and Facultad de Contaduría y Administración, entitled Agile Marketing for Emerging Markets by Pedro Alarcón. He is talking about his experience about marketing and emerging markets, so it is my honor to introduce his biographical sketch. Pedro Alarcón has a marketing degree from Tecnológico de Monterrey. He has more than 13 years of experience in brand management and brand building, passionate of marketing and innovation. He has specialized in new products, development and fast-moving consumer goods enterprise such as Koala, Viña, Concha y Toro, and L'Oreal, managing personal care products, wine, and food. He was part of Hasbro's marketing team, a toy company where he was in charge of action figures, dolls, and preschool categories, managing brands such as Nerf, Transformers, and Power Rangers, among others. He also led the strategy for Latin America of Marvel, Star Wars, and Disney Princess toy lines. Pedro is currently marketing manager of Clip, the leader digital payment platform, helping grow business in Mexico. He has been a teacher at Facultad de Contaduría y Administración since 2021. So, to the audience, please keep in mind that after the presentation is concluded, we will open up a space for answer all of your questions. Without further, let me turn it over to Pedro. Welcome.
Thank you, Danae. Hello, everybody. I'm going to share my screen now. Okay. So as Danae was saying, I'm going to talk about agile marketing for emerging markets. Thank you. First of all, thank you for the invitation. I'm very happy to be here. Sharing a little bit of what we are doing in some companies in Mexico. So I believe when I talk about agile marketing, I believe that future is now because this is the new way to work, and this is a new methodology that companies have found to work in a better way and to be faster to the market. As we know, this is a very complex environment we are working on, where we have to launch products very fast. We have to improve the products, the already existing products, very fast. So this is a very practical methodology that I want to share with you. If you want to reach me after the presentation, you can email me at alarcongomez@gmail.com, right? So this is my contact in case you have any question. Okay, so let's start. As Danae was saying, in the first years of my career, I was focusing on traditional marketing products, right? So I was involved in some launches of personal care products, wine, food, action figures, and every time the process was the same, right? You have to follow first one step and then the other, and linear process were the common of these launches. Now, as Danae was mentioning, I'm working at Clip. Clip is the digital payments company that it's revolutioning the way that how business are growing in Mexico, right? And then I started to apply this new methodology. What is agile marketing? And maybe you have heard this concept not only in marketing but in other areas, right? So the origin of agile as a method is in the software development, right? And then it started to apply to many other areas. So specifically, agile marketing is a high communication, low documentation. This is very important. This is not about paperwork, which is going to be easier for everyone. rapid iteration process designed to provide more frequent, more relevant, and highly measurable marketing programs. We believe, and this is something I stand for, if you cannot measure something, you cannot improve it, right? So it's very important to be able to measure the progress when you are doing agile marketing. It is a rapid iteration process because you don't have time. Sometimes you don't have time to test many times, to wait to have the product finalized. So that's why this methodology is interesting and is useful to the new years coming, right? So how is this process? Let's start by explaining every part, right? So it's an iterative and adaptive process. So it's about adapting the process to your needs, not the opposite, right? So the process should be useful for what you need, for the time you have. Maybe you have a very short time frame, so you have to be able to develop your product, your campaign, whatever you are working on in a short time. So you can do this with this iterative process. We're small, highly collaborative teams. So teams should be very small so you can communicate better. This is key, because if you are working in huge teams, if there is many people taking decisions, you won't be able to progress as fast as you want to, right? Working a series of short cycles. This is important because if you set the final delivery, it's going to be very far away. So, and it looks to be very difficult to achieve. But if you divide your work in a small series of short cycles, it's going to be easier. So this is not only for marketing, but for life, right? If you set small goals every week, every 2 weeks, it's going to be easier. And when you realize, you achieve a bigger objective, right? Incorporating rapid feedback. This is very important because sometimes when we are doing traditional marketing, we wait until the end to get the feedback. And then it's going to be more expensive to do adjustments, or it's going to take more time. So if you get the feedback during the process, it's going to be easier. So in these companies, we have incorporated the walking feedback, right? So this is something you get every day. You don't have to set specific time frames to give feedback. If you do it constantly, it's going to be better, and you will be able to progress faster. To deliver solutions, this is very important. When you are working with agile marketing, you are going to deliver solutions every time, and you are going to have progress, to have results during the process, not only in the end. Emphasizing transparency among all stakeholders. So this is something that happens in traditional companies, right? If you're talking in a multidisciplinary team, maybe if you're marketing, you don't tell the whole process to the product team, or maybe to the operations team. This is about sharing information. This is about everybody understanding what we are doing or what challenges we are facing, right? So that's why we work in small, highly collaborative teams, because we want to focus on the same information holding by everybody, right? So let's see the process. The process is customer driven. What does this mean? You will have the customer by the center of your strategy. If you don't ask to the customer what he needs, if you don't ask to the customer what is he expecting, you will probably not get the results you have to, right? So this process is also flexible and creative. You don't have to stick to the process. If the process is not working, you should adapt the process. If it's too rigid, you should do it more flexible and creative. when we talk about creativity, sometimes people have told me, I'm not that creative, I cannot do marketing campaigns, but I think everybody are creative in some ways. I'm not talking about creativity to create advertising campaigns or anything. I'm talking about creativity to find out some new ways to do the things, right? How can I adjust the process? How can I be more accurate with the result I'm expecting to deliver, right? And this is a process about test and learn. So sometimes in companies we are very afraid of testing because we don't like to fail, and this is very common. Companies don't like to fail. We as people haven't been educated to fail, right? When we were young, when we were toddlers, we were taught, don't do this, don't do that, this is dangerous, don't fail, you will fall down, right? And this is like a mindset we have grown with, right? So this is different. This is an invitation to test and learn. If you are not sure about a strategy, just test it and you will know, right? After many testing, you will get the answer. And this is how many discoveries have been possible, right? When the vaccines were discovered, where some treatments, some in the chemistry area, it's all about testing and learning. And we have a highlight here, and if you fail fast, you will fail cheaper, right? If you start to test and learn and you find out the failures, you can adapt, you can fix those failures fast, and it's going to be cheaper. If you wait until the end to test this huge strategy, it's going to be too late. And if you want to start over again, it's going to take more time. So test and learn is a new mindset for these kind of companies, and it's a new philosophy I recommend to use when we are doing marketing, because if we wait for perfection, it's going to be hard to find, and most important, competitors are going to be ahead, right? Because this is sometimes it seems like we are competing to see who gets faster, who comes to the market with this new innovation, with this new feature, right? And to start to test and learn and to start to work and organize the tasks we have to do, it's a recommendation to divide the activities in 2-week sprints. So this is the way we call it, sprints. So you have to set what do you want to achieve in this time frame of 2 weeks, and by the end of these 2 weeks, how are you going to measure the success to continue with the following sprint, right? That's why it's easier and to feel the progress, to make sure you are getting progress, right? And when you finalize one sprint, you can continue to the other. If it doesn't work, don't worry, you just lost 2 weeks and you can start over. So that's why it's iterative, because you can start over if you want to fix anything in the process. So this looks very easy, but it's more relaxing for everybody. When you can see the progress, when the progress is tangible for you, you get motivated because you know you are achieving goals. You know you are in the correct way. So it's more motivating for the rest of the team, and it's also about motivation, right? If you want to accomplish a project, motivation is important. So let's talk about the evolution of this agile methodology, right? Of this agile marketing. So this is a comparison between marketing, traditional marketing, which is the way I call it, versus marketing agile process, right? When you are doing, let's talk about a huge campaign, and I'm going to share an example with you. I was working in a Colombian company called Quala. Quala is present in Mexico, right? And about 10 years ago now, we were working in the development of a new shampoo brand, right? This is about a new line of hair care, and it was targeted to housewives, right? And households in general, right? So this is a familiar shampoo, which is the expectation is that when one single bottle, everybody is covered in this hair washing process, right? So we developed this big strategy, right? How are we going to market this brand? And then we go to focus groups, and we want to understand what the consumers think about this big strategy, right? You get feedback, you adjust, and you spend a lot of dollars producing this big campaign, right? In this case, when we were about to launch Stabile, we worked with a celebrity called Andrea Legarreta, right? And his family, and it's about familiarity, and it's about confidence and how your hair is going to look. And it's a huge campaign we produced. And then you measure the success of this big launch, right? So you measure how the results went, the sales, the recall. There are some marketing KPIs we usually measure to make sure that the strategy worked. What if in this stage of the process you realize you are failing? You realize your results are not what you were expecting. It's very expensive to go back and start all over again, right? Because maybe you place all your budget of the year in this huge launch, in this huge campaign, right? So then you have to start over with a new big strategy if you want to make some fixings. So in this agile marketing process, you start with little strategies, right? And you start planning, designing, launching, and measuring. This is an iteration cycle. How can we do? Let's continue talking about these advertising strategies, right? Maybe you can start in digital your campaign. Maybe you can target not all your audience, but a small part of it, right? And then you test. And if it works, you can continue and you can amplify your strategy. If you can identify something that was not working, you can start and you didn't spend a lot of money or time. You can adjust and you can do it again, and you get insights. What is an insight? Just for everybody to understand. So an insight is something that everybody feels, but it's not that simple to identify, right? It's not on the surface. You have to go deep into the emotions, into the feelings of the consumer to get this information, right? I'm gonna share an example of insight talking about hair care. 90% of the people believe that if you are washing your hair and the smell is very relevant and you feel this blooming in the bathroom, this shampoo works. That doesn't even have any sense, right? Because the washing feature of the product doesn't have to be anything with the smell. But this is an insight. That's something that people believe. So you have to design your product with a lot of fragrance, so people can relate with the aroma with the performance of the product. This is an example of an insight. So you get insights in the process, and I'm gonna share here another example. When I was working at L'Oreal some years ago, we were working with a hair coloring brand, and we started to launch a digital campaign, right, called El Color de Tu Vida, right, the color of your life. And we started doing this very, very small, and we started doing this in social media. You put some investment behind the strategy, and you get feedback. This was not working in the end because we were targeting the red hair, but we wanted to target all of the more used segments, right? So you get back, you adapt, you get the insights, right? And start over with another little strategy, adjust, and that's why it's iterative. You can do this as many times as you need. You don't spend a lot of money, you don't spend a lot of time, and you can continue growing your strategy, and it's going to be more effective, right? So what you have to do here is not to wait until your product or your campaign or your strategy is finalized, because you can work with a minimum valuable product. So this means this is good enough to be launched. It has something to improve, but it's sufficient for the market. So you launch it, you test it, test and learn, and you continue improving your product once you are in the market. So that's why in the beginning of my talking, I was saying that this is based on what people do with software development, right? That's what they do. They launch beta versions, right? They get the feedback from the users. If we talk about apps, if we talk about video games, they get the feedback from the users, and they can improve in the process. But they launch first, and they arrive first to the market, right? So let's see an example of how this works in our emerging markets.
The world around us is changing rapidly, and the change is driven by technology. Clients have an increasing number of options in contacting those they do business with. Businesses that must be available 24/7 and provide relevant, top-notch, personal service. That applies to all commercial enterprises, including banks. Digital innovators such as Spotify and Netflix are at the forefront of such developments when it comes to tailoring their service to client needs. They have a clear concept of corporate culture and a defined approach to collaboration processes. They believe firmly in the methodology called Agile. For ING, they are important sources of inspiration in establishing a new way of working together, a new level of servicing clients. The new way of working calls for quicker reactions to changing client needs, less interdepartmental passing of the baton, fewer coordination meetings, more room for initiative, and higher levels of responsibilities for teams and individuals. So, how does it work? The fundamental unit in our future head office organisation is the squad. Squads are self-steering, autonomous teams of up to 9 people, responsible end-to-end for their own specific customer-related mission. Squads are built around different disciplines, different areas of expertise, and different backgrounds. For example, the squad mortgage application concerns itself with developing and implementing the most customer-friendly and most efficient way of moving from first mortgage submission to final approval. And the squad search engine is dedicated to developing the most customer-friendly and effective search engine for our various digital channels. In squads, you can expect to find colleagues from marketing, product management, formula management, data analysis, user experience, and IT. Sometimes more of the one or more of the other, depending on the nature of the squad's mission. Within each squad, product ownership is assigned to one squad member. This product owner is responsible for what a squad does, is in charge of the backlog and to-do list, and determines priorities. This does not mean the product owner is the boss. Coordination between members of the same discipline takes place inside chapters. There is, for example, a chapter Data Analytics, a chapter customer journey mortgages, a chapter product management processes. Chapters determine how jobs should be tackled. The chapter lead is ultimately responsible for this and also represents the hierarchy for squad members, taking responsibility for personal development, coaching, and the performance management cycle of individual squad members. The chapter lead will perform these duties in addition to their regular day-to-day job in their own squad. But if squads are self-steering and autonomous, how can we ensure coordination between squads? That is where tribes come in. A tribe is a collection of squads with interconnected missions. There is a tribe securities and private banking, a tribe mortgage services, etc. As a rule, a tribe contains fewer than 150 people, coordinated by the tribe lead, who, although not the traditional boss of all tribe members, ensures that knowledge and insights are shared, establishes priorities, and allocates available budgets. The tribe lead also forms the interface with other tribes. And that's it. Well, almost. There is one more vital role, that of Agile coach. The person who coaches individuals and squads and who helps them to grow and prosper. That, in a nutshell, is how most of ING head office will function in the future. Most, but not all. The Agile approach involves flexibility in adapting to the needs of the moment. The forming of tribes is very much a tailor-made thing, dependent on specific goals and circumstances. And that is an approach that may not suit all business functions, and so a degree of trial and error will help us establish what does and does not work in practice. The Agile approach is in itself agile and not cast in iron. That is what makes it such a valuable tool in achieving our goals.
Okay, so this is an example. This is a practical example, very graphic explanation of how these teams work, right? So this Agile specialist, this Agile coach is very important in the process because he's in charge of following up the process, right? So managing the sprints, right? So tracking the results that the team is achieving, and more importantly, making sure that everybody knows what they have to do, right? And for example, when you are doing some brainstorming, right? Brainstorming, you have to let this person to lead the session, so he makes sure we don't discuss about anything else. We get to the point. We accomplish the objectives of the meeting, right? So that's why it's important, this Agile coach, right? So as a summary, some comparison between traditional marketing against the Agile marketing strategy, right? It can take 6 months depending on the project, right? But you know that a launch of a new project can take 2 or 3 years, depending on if it's about technology, if it involves some specific development, right? So Agile marketing, it's a real-time process. The cadence, regarding the cadence, so you get these follow-ups, these checkpoints twice per year, right? And the Agile marketing process makes you follow up daily, right? You have rigid fixed executions in traditional marketing, and Agile marketing, you can do it in a very creative and real-time way, right? You use artifacts in traditional marketing, images, videos, taglines, something that cannot be adapted, right? And in Agile marketing, you are generating fresh content every day. So think about TikTok, for example. TikTok is an example of Agile marketing. So if you get to this app and you see the content, it is not perfect. It is not strictly with high quality production, right? It's about videos that people is doing, and brands are not putting that much attention in perfection. So the agility is more important in this social media. So this is an example of how this work is asking us to change, right? To be more flexible, to be faster. So this is a manifesto, just before we finish, of some rules to implement agile marketing, right? So you have to take in mind that responding to change over following a plan is more important. This doesn't mean you don't have to follow a plan. You should have a plan because this is key. But if something in the way changes, you have to adapt. You have to be flexible. And this is the best example. We had a pandemic 2 years ago, right? And nobody was expecting this. And it made the plans changed. So you have to adapt. And it's important. So there is a saying that it was more important for these companies to adapt than to accomplish your objectives. And the companies that survived this pandemic situation were the ones who were able to adapt, right? So that's why it's that important. Rapid iterations over campaigns. You don't think about huge campaigns where you don't have the option to change. You do rapid iterations. It's going to be faster. It's going to be more relaxing. It's going to be more useful for you to learn also. Collaboration over silos and hierarchy. So think about the video we just saw, right? It's about collaboration. It's about sharing information. It's about sharing knowledge. And these silos are the ones, these teams in companies that work isolated, right? So don't do that. Think about teamwork. Think about non-vertical structures, right? This works better. Testing and data over options and conventions. So data is important. So if you think about some job in the future, and I would say in the present, is the data analysts. And many companies use these people and have these areas more developed because data is the key. You should know that when we are using an app, when we are browsing, when we are scrolling in our cell phones, we are providing data to somebody that owns these apps about our behavior, our interests, our needs, right? How much time do we spend watching some video, whatever. So this data is being used to make decisions. And testing and getting data is important in this process. So the next one is about many small experiments over a few large bets. You do it too many times. You iterate, you fail, you will learn from failure, right? This is not bad. We have been said that failing is bad, and it's not. What is bad is not to learn from failure. So don't be afraid of it. Individuals and actions over processes and tools. So think about these companies where the process, to follow the process strictly, is more important than the result, or is more important than the individual needs. So this is not about it. This is about individuals and actions over processes and tools. If the process doesn't work, change the process. If you need another tool, develop this tool, right? Don't keep using a process that is obsolete, right? So this is like a summary of this manifesto. And how is the spectrum of this agile methodology? Because it is not limited to marketing, of course, but in marketing you can use this methodology in the product management research area, in customer service and support, of course, in finance and HR operations, in PR, of course, in content and sales, right? In social media management, of course, advertising, doing advertising and promotion, packaging. When you are designing packaging, why don't you design a packaging which is good enough, launch it, and you will learn, and you will improve, and you will get better costs in the process, right? But if you wait these 2 years of development and you wait until the product is ready to be launched, it's going to be too late. And that's what companies are demanding from us as professionals, right? Perfect. So this is like a bonus for you guys. This is top 10 reasons to implement agile marketing, which I recommend, not only in technology companies, but in everything we do, in every project we work on, in every school project. Why don't you try to do it differently, right? When for example, I teach international marketing, and what if we don't wait until the end of the semester to see the results? Why don't we start testing and learning since the beginning of the semester when talking about a scholar project, right? We can do it, and we can implement this learning in many different areas. So it gives you more productivity, transparency, prioritization. You will identify what you have to do first easily, right? Measurability, we said in the beginning that it's very important to measure if we want to improve. Adaptability, this is a tip not only for marketing or for business, but for life, right? As the much you are able to adapt, the better. Customer satisfaction, you will get your customers retained, which is very valuable for enterprises, for apps development. Competitiveness, you will be fast and you will be better because you are always thinking about how to improve. You won't be obsolete if you are continue improving. Internet communication works better, definitely, right? It's good for your career. If you want to focus on marketing, if you want to focus on international business, if you want to focus on management, on administration, it's good for your career to learn these new methodologies and to go to implement and as a value added in the companies or in your own company, right? If you want to launch your own product, your service, if you want to do an entrepreneur, you can do it and it work better. And it's fun. When you work in teams, it's definitely fun than working isolated or in your own area. And we have seen this again in the pandemic. We missed working together. We missed doing teamwork. And this is something you can do even virtually or face to face. Okay, so this is like a quote to close. The aim of marketing is to know and understand the customer so well the product or service fits him and sells itself, right? This is what we are trying to do every day when doing marketing. So this is how agile marketing is being implemented in our markets, in our emerging markets. You don't need, that's the advantage, right? You don't need huge quantities of budget. You can start with little and iterate and start to grow, and this works for every size of business, which is also an advantage, right? So thank you for having me here, and I think that we have a few minutes to answer some questions, right?
Yes, Pedro, thank you. It is so interesting how with agile marketing, companies can respond to changes in the market and adjust their approach accordingly. So we're going to start with questions. We have here some. So the first is, what's the most challenging to implement agile marketing in a traditional company?
I think the most challenging is to change the mindset, right? I went to the university 13 years ago, and I wasn't. I mean, this information I didn't get it from the university, and many of us didn't get information there. So we have to start to learn and stop thinking that the way we used to do it is the only one. So maybe this is the most challenging part, like to change the mindset of the leaders of companies. But I think the best way to do it is to show the positive results of this methodology, right? This is not the only one. Again, this is one I recommend and I decided to talk about today, but there are many new methods to get the results faster and in a more profitable way. So I think that could be, and the way to change this mindset is to see the results, right? I recommend that everybody entering a company like challenge our bosses, right? Let me try this. Let me try to implement this, and let's see the results. The investment is not going to be high. That's an advantage.
Thank you, Pedro. The next question is, how we can be more creative if we are working in a traditional company?
There are many methods to stimulate creativity, right? So there are many. I think there are many techniques when you are working in brainstorming to develop creativity. For example, you can start. This is a very simple one that comes to my mind at this moment. You're going to start doing a list. How can I solve this problem? I don't know. People need a better way to accept digital payments without having a physical reader, right? That could be a problem to solve in a company. So how can we solve this problem? And you start doing a list of possible solutions. You don't judge yourself. You don't limit to what is expected to think. Think crazy and start writing a list of a possible solution or impossible solutions, but solutions in the end. And when you have written more than 20, 30 solutions, you will start to be creative without noticing, right? And after, there is a saying that when you have written more than 50 possible solutions, the last ones you have written are the more creative and are the ones that you were trying to find. But the key here is not to judge yourself, because this is something that happens, right? When an idea comes to our minds, we say like, oh no, that won't work. That's not intelligent enough. That's not easy to implement. You don't judge. So this is the key when you're implementing these creativity stimulation techniques. That's one I can think about, but you can find many other on the internet, and you can start working with it when you are with your team, right? The theory of the 6 hats, it's another one, and this is like a rule when you are in a meeting. You say a green hat. This is, of course, you don't have a hat, but this is like a permission you are giving to yourself to say something crazy. And when you are saying a black hat, you are going to share some specific number, right? Some data, some proven data. So you use these hats of colors when you want to have the permission to go crazy or to go off the record in a meeting. And there you can find some new ideas, some creative ideas, and you won't get judged. That's another technique I have used to create advertising campaigns, for example, right? And you get to stimulate people who usually don't share their point of views, but they feel more confident to do it. Those are two that I can share with you now. You can find many in the internet.
Thank you, Pedro. The next question is, how can we differ respect to our competitors?
First of all, understanding your consumer. It is very common that when you are working in a company, you are seeing your competitor, right? They launched this, they are focusing on this. For example, talking about hair color, right? So when you are talking about hair color, it's all about the how much can the color stay in your hair, because that is the most valuable attribute in these products, right? When you know that, when you understand that, you will focus on it and to improve this feature of your product. If you don't do that, if you don't know that this is important for your consumer, you will get to launch these vibrant reds and these flashy colors, but consumers don't care. I mean, they would like to have this, but this is not the most important part of your product. So my recommendation would be get to understand your consumer deeply, right? So once you know what is important to them, what is really important to them, what are the insights behind what they are saying to you, you will be able to develop those solutions, and you will be better because you are satisfying those solutions better than your consumers. Sometimes when we are in industries that moves very fast, we want to launch things, but not all of them are the most important for consumers, right? So we need to have that in mind, and always improving. That's why I consider this is a constant mindset. You are never there. Even if you are the leader of the category, you haven't finished your product. You have to continue evolving, right?
Thank you, Pedro. Next, is agile marketing beneficial also for single person or a few people marketing department?
I think so. Yeah, I think it provides you more the opportunity to focus in what you have to do. Even if you are launching your product by yourself, it's going to help you focus. It's going to help you optimizing your budget. If you are launching something, if you are developing something, if you are selling something by social media, and you are starting your own small business, it will help you to optimize your budget. It will help you to focus on what you have to do first. And of course, it will help you improve your product or scale it. That's what you want to do when you are running your small business. You want to scale it. So if you start small, you can improve in the process with a low budget.
Okay, with this last question, I ended up, and here it says, could there be any problem if the departments we work with in a project don't use agile strategies?
Could there be any problem? I don't think there could be any problem. I mean, there are some methodologies. Some companies don't use agile strategies and they work well, right? So I don't think there could be any problem. I think there's a benefit if you use it, but if you don't, I think you can get to the result anyway, right? It will take longer, maybe. You won't get that more information, maybe. Well, my recommendation is to try it. And this is not for all the teams. This is not for all the companies. So this is something we should be aware of, right? Some companies are not flexible enough and won't be able to implement it, and that's okay, right? But if you have a chance to change this, to improve this other process, I recommend you to do it.
Okay, Pedro, thank you for being here. I turn it over to Marco. He wants to talk.
Hello.
Hello, Marco.
Hello, Pedro. We deeply appreciate your accurate and outstanding participation in this event. Professor Alarcón, having a faculty member of UNAM Facultad de Contaduría Administración with your experience and your background is just the best way to put an end to this webinar series. So thank you again for sharing your knowledge with all the students and the community here and to all our audience in general. Ante la imposibilidad de llevar a cabo las visitas profesionales para administradores de este año de manera presencial, surgió la iniciativa de organizar este evento para compartir una parte de la experiencia del programa con la comunidad. Por lo que esperamos, este evento sirva de antesala para el programa de visitas profesionales del 2023. Por lo anterior, en nombre de UNAM Chicago y de la Facultad de Contaduría y Administración del UNAM, agradecemos a la audiencia, a nuestros ponentes, por supuesto a los organizadores del evento, la maestra Mitch Jacqueline Gómez, Elisa Fuentes, a todo el staff de la facultad y el staff de UNAM Chicago por la organización de tan preciso evento. Esperamos que los conocimientos adquiridos durante estos eventos les sean de provecho en sus estudios o en su desarrollo personal o profesional. Dicho lo anterior, UNAM Chicago y la Facultad de Contaduría y Administración damos por concluido los ciclos de webinar de negocios internacionales, esperando que haya sido de provecho para todos los oyentes. Les recordamos que estén pendientes de nuestras redes sociales, donde publicamos constantemente información valiosa relativa a los servicios académicos que ofrecemos para toda la comunidad. Me reitero a sus órdenes, soy Marco Antonio Fuentes Tamayo, coordinador de movilidad y servicios académicos aquí en UNAM Chicago. Que tengan un excelente día. Muchas gracias.
Gracias por la invitación. Buen día.